Sergio Perez and the Ocean Gate capsule. Both of them are facing serious criticism at the moment because of their recent behaviour. The engineers who built the capsule are responsible for the death of 5 people. People who clearly had more money than sense. Because it was $250,000 a ticket and they used a PS3 controller to drive it. Obvious death trap. And just like those rich morons who paid for a ticket, Sergio Perez has imploded. 2 months ago, he won the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And remember how excited everybody was for the championship battle? Is Perez a real threat to Verstappen's treble F1 title? Jenson Button backs Sergio Perez as title contender. Sergio Perez, the one man who can topple Max Verstappen in the championship fight. Is the Max Verstappen versus Sergio Perez title battle on? No, it is not. After the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, the championship gap was just 6 points. Now, only 5 races later, it's 81 points.
What the fuck are you doing?
And not only did Sergio Perez implode after Azerbaijan, but Max Verstappen read all of those headlines about Perez being a genuine title threat, and he took that personally. Because of the next race in Miami, Perez started on pole position and Verstappen was down in 9th after Charles Latifi fucked up his final run in qualifying. So Verstappen goes on a rampage and cuts through the field like a hot knife through shite. Overtakes Perez, wins the race, gets the fastest lap and moves 14 points ahead in the championship. Then at the next race in Monaco, he lines up 20th on the grid after he shagged it into the barriers in qualifying. Similar to what he did last year, except this time it wasn't on purpose. And he didn't have a public social media domestic with his wife. Remember that, Sergio? Got a bit excited, didn't you? After he won last year's Monaco Grand Prix, Sergio Perez went out that night and got lit AF. A video emerged of him dancing with a mysterious woman in a nightclub, a woman who was not his wife. So while Mrs. Perez was at home with the kids, Sergio was slinging dick up some Monaco twat. And there's more, because another video emerged of him dancing with a different woman on a yacht. And the woman in question is a Ukrainian model by the name of Christina. That might be worth ruining your marriage for. That might be worth throwing it all away. I would drown my wife and children in the kitchen sink just to let this broad take a shit on my head. And to be fair to Sergio, he just won the Monaco Grand Prix. What you supposed to do? Sit down with a good book? Have a bath and go to bed? No, he was slinging dick and I respect that. Although she is suspiciously attractive and Ukrainian, that's too much of a coincidence. I think she was a psyop. Do you know what that is? A psyop? You people are so fucking naive. Remember when the US Army was uploading videos on TikTok of these girls in camouflage and they were suspiciously attractive and they made videos like, consider joining. The whole thing was one big facade. They were trying to get lonely simps on the internet to sign up to the army so the government had more bodies to throw at these fake wars they create every single decade. And that's what this woman is. She's a psyop. 1 minute you're dancing on a yacht in Monaco, the next minute you're leading an offensive into the fucking Donbass. That's how they got Nicholas Latifi. Has anybody seen Latifi for the past 18 months? No, you haven't. Because he is currently trying to overthrow the Russian government. The point is, after the Monaco Grand Prix last year, Sergio Perez went out and got lit AF. The next morning, he was seen stumbling off the yacht, and does it look like he had a good night's sleep? Or does it look like he spent the last 7 hours hinge deep in a Ukrainian psyop? So he publicly apologised to his wife. He said, I have seen the videos that have been circulating about me and I take responsibility for it. It was a bad party that I didn't know how to control at the height of the person that I am, but it was just that, a very bad party. I don't know, it looked like a pretty good party to me, mate. And for those who just want to hurt us, I wish you the best. I think he's talking about Max Verstappen's mother. This is going to turn into an episode of Jeremy Kyle. Max Verstappen's mum deletes post accusing Sergio Perez of cheating on his wife. In a since deleted comment, she replied to a post concerning Perez alleging to her 100,000 followers and then in the evening cheating on his wife. That does seem like a strange thing to post on social media, but she's probably still got a concussion from being married to Jos Verstappen. Listen, I'm just making jokes. Don't come after me, Jos.
Don't come after me.
The point is, after the Monaco Grand Prix last year, Sergio Perez got a bit excited and invaded Ukraine. But after this year's Monaco Grand Prix, he invaded the barriers and fell 39 points behind Verstappen in the championship. Then, over the next 3 races, he's just been a bit shit. Like in Spain, he got knocked out in Q2 and lined up 11th on the grid, only made it back up to 4th behind both Mercedes, despite starting ahead of Osama bin Russell. Now he's 53 points behind in the championship. Then at the Canadian Grand Prix, he gets knocked out in Q2 again and lines up 12th on the grid, but this time only makes it back up to 6th behind both Ferraris. Now he's 69 points behind in the championship. And then at the last race in Austria, he fails to make it into Q3 for the 4th race in a row, but that was for the big race on Sunday. For the sprint race on Saturday, he lined up next to Verstappen on the front row. Now, at this point, you're so far behind in the championship, it's basically over. So your job now is to fall in line and not give Red Bull any more reasons why they should fire you. So he throws it down the inside into the first corner and then pushes Verstappen onto the grass in the wet, almost causing both of them to crash.
What the fuck are you doing?
Breakfast!
Then Verstappen shags him off the track into the second corner. They both complain about each other on the radio, blah, blah, blah. The result is the same. Verstappen wins the sprint race, then he wins the big race on Sunday. Perez was miles behind in the same fucking car. The championship is over. Formula One is boring, so instead we're going to talk about Team LH having another mental breakdown.
Fucking little God!
Oh, the humanity. I'm gonna have to stop for a minute.
Right, it's been a while since we did the last mental breakdown. In fact, the last one was 4 months ago when Verstappen got thrown out of the 24 Hours of Le Mans virtual because of technical difficulties. And obviously, Team LH found a way of making it all about Abu Dhabi 21. But now it's been a year and a half since Michael Massey's great adventure. So, have they moved on from it?
No.
The Austrian Grand Prix was a difficult weekend for Team LH because Hamilton got knocked out in Q2 after Max Verstappen deliberately ruined his lap and then didn't get a penalty for it. But Hamilton ruined Max Verstappen's lap just before that. I mean, they are doing it on purpose. Verstappen went on to get pole position, whereas Lewis Hamilton lined up 18th on the grid. Then, in the race on Sunday, Hamilton spent the entire time complaining about how shit the car was, to the point where even Toto Wolff told him to shut up and just drive the car.
Lewis, the car is bad, we know. Please drive it.
And when he wasn't complaining about the car, he was complaining about other drivers exceeding track limits, despite himself exceeding track limits and getting a 5-second penalty for it. Let me just go on a tangent for a second. The whole track limit situation was fucking ridiculous. There are 7.8 billion people on this planet, and every single one of them got a penalty for track limit violations. 1,200 violations, to be exact. They were coming in so fast, the FIA couldn't process them, so they were still handing out penalties long after the race had finished. The FIA couldn't organise a rice fight in a Chinese whorehouse, and these are the people controlling F1. So Lewis Hamilton was one of the drivers who got a penalty. Now, was that because he kept exceeding track limits like everybody else, or was it because of white supremacy? Because the FIA is a racist, elitist organisation that can't stand a black kid whose dad had to work 3 jobs to support him in racing become F1's most successful driver. FIA stewards, 5-second time penalty for car 44, track limits. The FIA is a joke, dirty racists, racist bastards, FIA. Half the grid got at least a black and white flag or a penalty. It happened so many times, of course it took time, and Hamilton was the first one to get so many. Nothing to do with him specifically. It is. They always look to punish Hamilton first because the FIA and the race stewards are racists. They go for Lewis, and they seem to go for Tsunoda too. Racist bastards, a lot of them. Now, at this point, just as I was losing the will to live, I saw this. Rate limit exceeded. Now, apparently, Elon Musk pulled a Ferrari strategy with Twitter and fucked up the whole thing. So I wasn't able to find any more perfectly reasonable tweets. But because I am an investigative journalist, I went to Instagram, because these psychopaths have infected multiple platforms. This is a post from the official Mercedes Instagram account. Update. Lewis has been given a 10-second post-race time penalty for exceeding track limits during the Austrian GP. And how do you think they took that? Not well. So race results can be changed after the race. Mercedes, this is twice where you don't even both, I think that should be bother, to back up your own driver. It happened in 2021 and it's happening now. They can change the results now after the race, but in 2021, not. FIA at its best. Can they change the result of the 2021 Abu Dhabi GP2? Why not Abu Dhabi 2021? Bro, that's 2 years ago. Friend. Ooh, friend.
Oh, friend. Don't forget the thumbs up. Oh, friend. Oh, new friend.
Friend, some things never get old, and this case will remain an eternal scandal in the history of Formula 1. It's a joke F1 now, since Red Bull blah 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 2021, so they can change the outcome of a race blah 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 2021. It's at times like these I'm so glad I stopped watching F1 after the farce that was Abu Dhabi 21. You see these types of tweets quite a lot. They'll say something like, I stopped watching after Abu Dhabi 2021. Well, if you're not watching, then how did you know any of this happened?
Gotcha.
Now, at first glance, these people seem insane, because they are. But I wanted to help everybody understand how the average Team LH member processes information. So I made a diagram. Are you ready for the diagram? Here we go. I have a notepad. Why did Lewis Midfield Milton get a penalty at the Austrian GP? Did he do anything wrong? Yes or no? If the answer is no, are you sure about that? If the answer is no again, then we go back to the start. But if the answer is yes, then the FIA are white supremacists, and that's why Abu Dhabi 2021 happened. Does that make sense? Of course it doesn't. Then if we go back to did he do anything wrong, if the answer is yes, then did other drivers get penalised as well, or was it just him? If it was just him, then obviously the FIA are white supremacists. But if other drivers got penalised as well, that doesn't matter. We ignore reality. The FIA are white supremacists. Abu Dhabi 2021. You see how this works? It almost doesn't matter which route you take. Every single train of thought these people have ends with Abu Dhabi 2021. It's like a disease. It's worse than a disease. It's like a brain worm. Do you know what a brain worm is? It's terrifying. There's a place in New Hampshire, in America, where a moose can become infected by a brain worm. And when the worm gets into the body, the moose turns into a mindless zombie. Does that sound familiar? What other explanation is there for spending all day on social media screaming about a race that was almost 2 years ago? It's a brain worm.
There's one right there. That's the sick one. You can see its head tipped over from here. It's a classic brainworm symptom right there. Yeah, that's classic brainworm symptoms. It's sad to see when it's happening in front of you. There's nothing to take them out of that and reverse those effects of brainworm, so the most humane thing to do, obviously, is to euthanize it.
I agree with the Ranger. Team LH have a classic brainworm and they need to be euthanized. Let me wrap this up before I have an aneurysm. So, Max Verstappen is the 2023 world champion. Sergio Perez has imploded. Christina is a Ukrainian psyop, but I would still let her take a shit on my head. And Team LH have a brainworm and his name is Michael Massey. Thank you and goodbye.
Hey Checo, today was just a day that just didn't go right for you. Just sum it up for me.
Breakfast!